Hey beauties, it's Carrie Montgomery here today. I have Ash Sebulka with me. She is a transformational coach, inspirational speaker, and writer. I'm so excited to introduce you to Ash today. Now, whether she's speaking on stage, coaching one-to-one, or doing her online products, she's on a mission to create a purpose-driven career on your terms. She encourages you to find that sweet spot of growth without striving. Oh my God, so important. Her work helps women around the globe tap into their purpose, passion, and freedom. Known for her enthusiasm and empowering coaching skills, Ash's program transforms lives through the use of her simple and effective tools. We all need good tools. Her easily accessible programs help women trust their intuition, guiding them toward creating a career and lifestyle they're madly in love with. That has always been my dream, and I'm so glad to say that I got there. She believes in the power of sisterhood and has created passionately rising women's groups, helping women unite together honestly with vulnerability, strength, and trust as they rise in every aspect of their lives. As a mother and coach, her personal experience helps fellow mothers find clarity and purpose in an often confusing time of their life. She offers the keys for mothers everywhere to find pride in their purpose and the link to her and become passionately free. You can find her at Ash Sebulka, and we're going to dive into a great conversation today. I am so excited you're here. This is so fun.
Thanks, Mama. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. So we had a really fun connection when we were at Andrew Littlestrom's Ignite Your Soul Summit.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to learn your background, that you were like in the fashion world and then went into the coaching world. And I was in the coaching world and then went into the fashion world. So tell me, like, what was your world in fashion like before you stepped into the coaching realm?
Yeah, so I had a clothing boutique. Well, it was actually clothing and furniture with my mom, and it was our version of Anthropologie. So we started it when I was really young, and I had no freaking clue what I was doing, 23 years old. And my mom's an interior designer and had been for, I don't know, probably 20 years at that point.
I know. I grew up the same way.
Yeah, it's so crazy, the similarities in our story. So I was the buyer and did all the fashion, and also at times did personal styling for people. And I traveled the world picking out clothes. It's really fun. I really loved it. So yeah.
What happened? Why did you want to step away from it?
I think there was a few things. One, I was heavily into personal development when I was, for a long time leading up to the store, and then I got even further into it when I was there. And I loved the fashion industry. I had so much fun finding up and coming designers. So I wasn't so interested in the mainstream. I would like cherry pick the new people that I thought were gonna, rise, and whose styles I liked. And that was fun, but three things happened. One, the economy tanked and people stopped keeping their integrity with their word as far as us having exclusivity. And so that was a big part of our store, was we had exclusivity to all the designers. So I only picked one size run. So anybody that came in would only, if they were wearing that small, they were the only person in Charleston that would have that small. So when that integrity went away, it kind of jaded me a little bit. In addition to that, hearing women be so hard on themselves and their bodies.
Right.
It honestly it took a toll on me. I got really kind of sick of it.
Yeah. And you told
me from a compassionate standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
and you told me you had a policy in your store.
Yeah, so I had a policy in my store where it was called the no negative self-talk zone. And that was where the dressing rooms were. Yeah. So it didn't matter what size, color, shape these women were. Every single woman had something negative to say about their body. And having recovered from an eating disorder, I was in that world for so long that once I was healed, I was determined to help women have a good relationship with themselves. So they weren't allowed to speak negatively. And if they did, they knew they had to leave. and I was pretty strict about it.
Yeah.
Which ironically made more women want to come because it started the conversation of like, oh wait, this doesn't need to be so normalized to talk like
so brilliant. I mean, the reason why I didn't go into fashion when I was, in my 20s and go to college, I went to film school instead. I was so afraid of the industry and how it would treat me because I didn't look like a supermodel, or like I had a bloated belly and I looked not unhealthy, but I just had some I wasn't the perfect stick figure that they looked for. And I judged myself, and it was known as like a lot of mean girls, and I just was not interested in doing that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was
being myself inside this head that go to work where like people are beating you up mentally every day, like was not my thing.
Yeah. Well, and it was such a different industry, even more so than it is even now, because I did a model for Wilhelmina for a little bit, and I didn't follow through with my contract because I was so sick and I knew that I was just going to basically die if I stayed in that industry. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, I did a low level modeling. I never had an agent in New York, but I had agents in LA and New Mexico. And, it was really hard to know that your job depended on the size of your body, and that if you bloated, like if I came to a shoot bloated, the photographer would be like really, really awful.
Yeah. And how could that not affect what's going on up here?
Like it did affect it.
Those formative years too.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
but I also, in my mind, I put it on a pedestal too, where I thought like, oh, if I was a model, then like all my problems would go away, all my sadness, all my fears, all my anger. Like I thought if someone else just approved of my body, what it looked like, how the world saw me, then I'd be okay. And like, of course it would be worth it because I'd be making money off my body, which is like prostitution in its own weird way, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's like the world of fashion. I was afraid of it. I was like, no way. But I did I was in the furniture world with my mom, buying things for her and traveling the world and buying there. But because I would go to like Asia, I was this tall blonde in a sea of, a lot smaller people, very different culture. Yes, they were global buying places, but still like I stuck out like a sore thumb. So again, like just the look thing kept like showing up, and I was like, it'd be uncomfortable. I mean,
so how did you make your transition from the previous career you had to fashion?
So, I was in sales and marketing in the wellness industry. So I sold to doctors, I taught them nutrition, and I sold them supplementation to reverse chronic illness. I was also a health coach. And so I was really focused on the health and well-being aspect of life and developing sales skills. But I really wanted the world to be like a better place medically. And prior to that, I had been in, I've been a Pilates instructor. I'd had a couple of different like one-off healing careers, if you will. Like I had some sort of healing practice that I would do on the side of the other jobs that I had, like running the film union in New Mexico and, working in the film industry. And so when I got to the place where my life just, I had a major medical crisis and it was really hard, and I had to transform my experience. And, part of my major medical crisis came from losing too much weight and doing it in the guise of like a hormone detox. And, I was 30 pounds skinnier than I am now, and it ruined my brain. Like it really messed things up. There were other things in play, but I had to get my body back, and I couldn't ask anyone else to do it for me, right? Like I'd come to the end of the road with doctors, and I knew the cycle again, and I didn't want to do the things they wanted to do to me. I ended up having to have an emergent hysterectomy, and it was almost dying. And that was really the major transition point where I was like, I need to reclaim my body. It was my 13th surgery. And I just was like, enough. Like I cannot live this way anymore. And when I transitioned, I knew that I was open to the coaching world, but I wanted it to be creative. And when I went through B school, and for the year prior, I had been doing like all this research on fashion, and I was like, I don't see where I fit in this. Like, I want to be in it. I can't figure out how I fit in it in a way that works for me. And I'm, at that point in life where I'm going to be a little bit selfish about what I'm going to do in life, because I've done a lot. I've been in a career for 20 years in multiple formats.
Yeah.
And I had to be really specific about the experience that I was having, as well as the people around me. And when I started to get really clear that that was a creative process, then I knew that I had to start tapping into the wisdom of the body. Fashion, I mean, because I spent so much time on sets in my film career, I managed the different departments. I know how to get someone dressed because it's just been part of the process. And I know how to be on a photo shoot because that was part of the things I did in school and into my career. And I just was asked to help a friend for her brand shoot. And it just she paid me for a couple of days work. And I was like, oh, right. This is totally like, ta-da, this is like, you can do this in your sleep. And I was like, oh, it's that, right? This creative process. Like, I creative directed the thing. Everything went great, smooth. She was dressed. Everything was done. And I just started getting, people kept asking. And I was like, okay. And then I got a magazine thing. And so I got all this editorial work, and it just happened like really quickly.
That's amazing.
And then but what happened was my body still wasn't ready to do that kind of work. And it probably never will be ready on that level that I would want to do, high level production work. And when I realized that there was a way to do this virtually, which was always my goal, like, how do we bring this to where I can share the wisdom and knowledge? Because I know it's more about the experience in the body. And that's the true wisdom, right? The body really knows what's going on. And when I started to talk to women virtually and dress them, I was like, there's something missing. Like, there's this lack of communication. And I ended up creating this method that, the somatic dressing method. And it allows you to tap into the inner world of yourself and then create an aesthetic appearance from it.
That's so incredible.
So I coach and I style and I play, and it's in fashion and it's in heart and soul. And I feel like I finally got the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
So what about you? When you left the fashion world and you were, had that policy of like, no negative self-talk in here, were you like, all right, I got to do something different?
Yeah. And I dabbled in so many, much like you, I dabbled in so many other things. So I designed denim for a while. I did personal styling for people. Then I got into, my last business was a gourmet cookie boutique, which was so fun. But I have this inner rebel in me. Like, I'm really rebellious at my core, which is great for entrepreneurship. It can also be like my worst enemy, depending on where I'm at with it. So the rebel in me, like, having been healed from the eating disorder, was like, I'm going to do something that's like so out of the box, and so I created
a brand called the Passionate Rebel Lifestyle.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, the parallels in our life are fucking nuts. Pardon my French. I like to swear. See, there's the rebel. So it was called Yes You Make Cookies, and it was like where I thought my platform was going to be, because at this point, like, I knew my purpose. I knew I needed to show more of my personality and my enthusiasm and all that stuff. But that was like my other turning point, much like yours with being sick and the surgeries.
Right.
Like, my first turning point was when I was healing from the eating disorder, much like you. Unlike surgeries, for me, it was like, how many meds can they put me on?
Right.
And finally, it was like, I literally can't do this anymore. And so I healed myself, right? Like, I learned the power of my thoughts and how that influenced the way I felt in my body. And then I changed the relationship with myself. Cut to 10 years later, here I am in this, cookie business, building it behind the scenes while running my other family business. And I had the holy shit, is this really happening to me year, not moment, year. And so my oldest brother suddenly passed away, really tragically. And then 8 months later, I opened the door to my business, which we all know, like launching a business is no small feat, while running another business. And then a week later, I got engaged to my now husband. So it was like, how crazy can it get? Highs and lows. And then in that first year of business, I quickly realized, much like the moment that you had, where it's like, tragic, traumatic moments smack life into perspective in about 5 seconds. And I kept getting like this slow drip that this isn't it. Even though on paper, my business was doing great. And my husband's about to walk in the door, so you're going to hear a lot of us. So anyways, that's when I decided to leave the company, what I created. And I've been interested.
Sell the business, or what'd you do?
So I took a lifestyle coaching course and ate humble pie I ate like some serious humble pie and left my company, worked in a pizza restaurant. These are the things people don't tell you about.
Right.
To like start making money again because I needed to make money in between. And then got fired from my first job ever. And that was the universe thing, like, because I suck at working for other people. Like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 23. Like, I'm just
like you're like, I don't know how to, like, I'm
like, you're doing this wrong, this needs to, like, and they're like, okay, just bye. So I got fired. And then I've been taking the course and I just launched the business. And here we are, like 6 years later.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I got into it because I love entrepreneurship. I love it I just love it. I love making ideas into breathing, livable businesses that positively affect others' lives. I could talk about it all day long. And I think it's one of the best ways to creatively express yourself, especially for women who I think need that for their sanity.
Yep.
So I launched the biz, and now I help women do like the deep interpersonal work while creating and launching a purpose-driven business.
I love it. So like, who do you work with typically? Like, what's your typical woman?
Women who are either in a big life transition or desiring a big life transition. Mostly moms. Some women aren't moms.
Yeah.
And at first they always think it's career. And then I'm like, oh, it's not even about the career. And so then we do the deep interpersonal work, and then we get to the career. Because I do think it's important to love what you do.
I totally agree with you.
But having the job title doesn't make you love your life.
That was a big part of my wellness journey too. Like, if you look at the wheel of life and you look at all the aspects that we want to have fulfilled and balance, like the myth of balance, right? But that thing where it feels good and it feels like, okay, we're stable. Career was like one thing. My three are career, relationships, and health.
Same.
And so, because I can always make money. I've always been supported in some way, shape, or form. Like, it's never been an issue. It just sort of like I've figured it out. May not be perfect, but we're good. The career part, oh my God. I just was so unfulfilled. I go from like the next thing and I'd be like, well, is this it? Like, I thought that in my mind, when I first got sick, I was like, oh, if I just have the right career, I'll be healthy. Which is, it's a truth and a total like not true, because my style is to push. And I've learned to do it differently now. But until I learned how to pull back, and I still do the like, stay up too late.
Of course.
Like, work too hard. I still do that. Now I'm really working on the balance of like, guess what? Cut bait, go to yoga, go have dinner with friends, and chill out and watch a show. Like, and you just can't touch the computer. Like, you can't. And now I get to a point where I can't see, so I just sort of cut it. But then, that sense of fulfillment from the work that I do, that is healing. Like
Oh yeah.
the conversations I get to have on a daily basis, the creative process I get to do, the guiding, the leading, like that is healing for me.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah.
I call it your pot of gold, right? Like I think that I really do operate under the belief that everything happens for us. So even when I say like the holy shit, this happening to me, because it did feel like that in the moment, right? But that year, but really I realized like it's all happening for me. All that crazy shit I went through, it was all happening for me to give me nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
And so those golden nuggets create your, your pot of gold. And it's like when you're appreciating that pot of gold and sharing it on a regular basis,
Yeah.
it's only going to multiply. It's only going to make you feel like everywhere you go, there you are. Like you are the fullest expression of yourself in everything you're doing. So then there's not such a hard line in the sand between work and who you are.
I love that John Kabat-Zinn book, Everywhere You Go, There You Are. It's like amazing.
Uh-huh.
I've
never read it, but I've read
it's
it.
amazing. So he's incredible. His work, I started doing his meditation work years ago when I started getting chronic pain. And I used to be like, I would like run from myself and I'd be like, oh shit, she's here again. Like I'd like try and run from myself. And then I would like create some sort of mess, something that I had to clean up, or like it would be great. And then I'd collapse and then I'd be like, this thing is here. And now I've been working in a really great trauma therapy that helps to look at different parts of yourself. So instead of letting one system completely ride the whole system, you actually acknowledge like who's running the system and then you can modulate it.
So smart.
It's like the most beautiful work ever.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's
really,
when I say like the rebel, like I know when homegirl's trying to run the show in not a positive way,
right.
versus like, there's positive and negatives to both.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing that you're doing that because trauma work is so important.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way to survive at this point.
Yeah. And I realized that like with what I was doing, because a lot of it was self-deprecating behaviors, right? Like literally trying to disappear, starving myself. Is I was just looking for love in all the wrong places.
I know.
And that's what I see happening with so many people. They're looking for love in all the wrong places. It's like we as human beings love to complicate the shit out of things. And it's like, it's really not that complicated.
Right.
If you slow down and stop buying into other people's expectations or even definitions of what it means to have a great life, because we're all so different and we have our own experiences leading up to this point, and it's really important to honor them.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think of like becoming aware of that sort of that internal system, that internal like thought process. And I do a yoga nidra meditation to go to sleep at night. And I watch myself like go down a path, a thought process, and then I feel myself like gripping, right? And I'm like holding, and then all of a sudden I feel the sensation, and then I'm like, oh, what are my thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
And then once I recognize like, oh, these thoughts were like way off. Those were not feel good, positive thoughts. Like, okay, let's rein this in. And the only way that I know that I'm in a bad mental, I mean, it's not really like, it doesn't ever really go bad anymore, but it's like not as positive as it could be.
Yeah.
Is because of the physical sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I shift into like literally saying positive things to myself and like going on a positive journey. And I'm like, whoa, I'm flying inside. And like the cell structure opens up.
Totally.
It's so wild because then that gives you such a sense of freedom inside your body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I dress people, is to like apply clothing so that they feel those sensations of like the reinforcement of support from high-waisted pants or from an empire waisted shirt, or, having like lots of necklaces like hanging to protect your chest. Like it just, there's lots of different ways to play with it.
Which is so incredible. I mean, what an amazing way to express the inner work. And not just like as this is your personality, but also like how you want to both protect and express yourself.
Yeah. right?
It's amazing.
Because like clothing is actually used as a physical like conduit for your body. Like it's helping guide you in how you hold yourself up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you think you want your shoulder, like, yeah, of course I could have bad posture and sit here like this, but I know that that doesn't actually feel good in the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always going to sit shoulders back. But then having like a deep V shirt that like reinforces that, that like lifting of the chest. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then having like
Not
flow.
all like,
Hello. Yeah.
whoa.
No, but then having like the, more relaxed pants. Like today I was like, oh, I'm going to do like higher waisted total, like they're like funky joggers, but they're geo. Yeah.
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 I think it's so important too, because I think clothes can become just this other way of trying to fit a mold that's not who we are. You
Right.
know? That's what I saw so often in my store.
Yeah. Well, finding that persona, and that's why I do style archetyping, because
Yeah.
finding your identity, look, I've done a million careers and I've changed how I look for almost every single one of them. And, but authentically, because I was like, oh, well, this is the role.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have like my clear identity and the boho warrior. And it's like, I don't ever doubt. I don't ever feel like a chameleon. I don't ever feel like I don't fit in. I have full ownership of what I'm putting on. I'm doing it within a place of connectedness to who I am.
Yeah.
And what my body needs.
Hell yeah.
And then it's like, woo, woo. All right, let's have fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes the stress out of, does this look good? It's
right.
like, does it feel good?
Does it feel good? That's how I base everything when it comes to dressing.
Yeah. So what are the most common challenges you see with the women that you work with that they're bumping up against?
I would say it's two things: lack of self-confidence in going after, like, and really giving themselves permission to want what they want.
Yeah.
And then, well, three things. Then a little bit of the strategy to actually launch the career. So as much as, especially in the spiritual world, people like to kind of poo-poo strategy. There's strategy to get something out the door, right? Like you wouldn't be running this amazing career that you have if you didn't have some strategy. So the strategy, and then along with the support. So that's why I love, sisterhood. I don't love the word tribe. For some reason, it just kind of.
I have a couple of friends that they're not tribe people. But
yeah, I just love community. Let's use that word, right? Because that's
great.
universal. Tribe feels exclusive, which I think that's what it is that I don't like about it. But I'm digressing. Support. Yeah.
So
support,
important.
like see their vision into fruition. And especially moms, because it can be really lonely being a mom, period, let alone like being a mom who wants to launch a career.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. How about you? What would you say the biggest challenges are you see with your clients?
I think there are a couple things. One is identity, like that they know who they are, but they're afraid of it. And so I cultivate them into that next level of self that they desire to be. It's where they aspire to be, but they're afraid to step into it. And so that's a big one. And then how to accept the body. I mean, that whole body image and the extra weight or the not enough weight, or the boobs are too big, or the butt's too big, or the hips are too big, or the belly's too big. Like, how do we navigate that? And like the true body image, and that, the somatic dressing method really addresses the body image. And our perception of self, like I have clients that are totally dysmorphic and they think that they're much bigger than they are. And I have some that are larger and think that they're smaller. And it's just a little bit of like, how do we navigate this to find the right clothing for you so that when you get dressed, you have a connected sensation in your body.
That's incredible.
So they're truly like the deep is that they're disconnected a little bit and they don't know it, because they're doing the spiritual work, right? But there's like, it just takes it to another embodied level.
That's incredible. Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same for mine. They're disconnected. They're disconnected from taking care of themselves, like their self-care is in the toilet. And they're just hiding. You know, most of my clients are hiding a big part of themselves.
It's time to come out and play.
Yeah.
So fun. All right, my love. So fun chatting with you. So where can everyone find you?
AshSabulka.com.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And then what's your Instagram?
AshSabulka.com as well.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my love. We'll talk soon.